If you look at these Agonic intellectuals, they die young. They are called rebels with a cause. One of them was Steve Bantu Biko, who once said, the most powerful weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Yeah. I think that was one. They followed by Frantz Fanon, again another rebel without a cause. No, a rebel with a cause. Who also one day mentioned that the people are their own liberators. And another one that was Amilcar Cabral. People don't quote Amilcar Cabral. I know President Thabo Mbeki quoted in the famous quotation that says, "Tell no lies and claim no easy victories." But Amilcar Cabral, as if from the context he was speaking on the eve of his party going to rule. He said, people have got eyes. They will look at you. They will not ask you certain things, but they will still question you in their minds. But one day they will decide. He said, don't lie. If 10 oxen go to a field and 2 had worked or pulled and 8 did not work, say only 2 were working, not only 10 were working. That was Amilcar Cabral. Going back to Ubiko, a rebel with a cause, he predicted his death actually at the age of 20. Why? Because he said people they don't want to listen, and therefore will die one day. I'm coming back to Uzweli, another rebel with a cause. If you look at Zwelibanzi's life, his father, Jongutlanga, one of the turning points of the conference of the ANC was Kabwe, when he spoke there. Ethetha ngesiXhosa, etolekelwa nguNyelenzi Charles Ngakula in 1985. The young Buyile Khaya comes from Kakulama as a soldier of Mkhonto weSizwe. But there's something about the name Buyile Khaya which is prophetic. There was a cry for him to come back home, which I happened to actually have, the freedom fighter myself, been part of that cry. And he eventually came back home. Post-liberation, there's another cry for him to come back home. Is it not a very interesting coincidence? Now coming back home from prison, again having served with the king in 1994, when uPremier Lapa is saying Ubaba Mhlaba, I think at that age, King Salingana, he was also my neighbor by Bishop. I happened actually to have been staying in the same Konistratoi King Street, Pycon, in 1994. I'm happy that I can see Mike Basop, who's here, was also with the king. If people remember, there was a law that was discussed that time called Traditional Leaders Bill that was introducing the House of Traditional Leaders. So then basically there was a caucus of the ANC here and was sitting. Kwama Jacob Pasepa ngaibamba ngalendo bukhosi. Mike Pheko and other people by indolent West Libasalendo. Kodwa makuthethe leyo nangu umuntu oyaziyo king yo yeza ibeka lo mcimbi. Then kukhona uba uthonjeni abasathonje. Ayimcimbi wethu lo. But what surprised all of us is when Zwelithini stood up. He was actually opposed to the House of Translators Bill. And the reason for his opposing this, they were very interesting. People never, underline. I mean, remember, Prakux was sitting next to me, he said, Habu. He said, I'm opposed to this because it's actually a fundamental contradiction in an African society that you are taking chiefs and inkosi from the people to parliament so that they must ask for funding from their subjects. And therefore, bazocela imali to their very same subject that they're supposed to rule. This is a fundamental contradiction. Isuka plento. He even said, and yeah, nam leno did it. And those who it virtually didn't stay. I remember Matiba whether what like Kali Parliament or ucime qala ngo8 kanti qale xa ngo2. Dimfonela sendule nginceba mhlekazi sindihamba. But he exposed that fundamental contradiction that is embedded in our own constitution. Why House of Treasury leaders? It is a contradiction in itself because for them to ask for funding, they must go to Treasury. How are they going to be respected? And he was posing a very fundamental question. One day, in the Research Council, he asked another, a rebel with a cause. Another fundamental question. Uthi kume emthembu lento yenzeka pha kwaZulu kuthiwa kunkosi omhlanga kuthiwa abo omama okanye osisi banxiba okanye kufuneke behambe phambi kwabantu lahlobo abamangalo and exposing themselves. Uthi, is that African culture? I never thought about this. He said, by the way, that's not African culture, that's slavery. That actually came as a result. During the time of slavery, they were actually making our people to parade generals in front of them. That is why Abelungu, they will never reveal the parts that our people must reveal in the public. Is this African culture? I left thinking, is this African culture? Where does it come from? A question from an organic intellectual. One writer, Edward Singh, he once defined the difference between organic intellectuals and academics. He said academics are those people who are likely to do one thing at the same every day, like certificated people, principals, nurses, professionals, doctors. But he said the organic intellectuals are intellectuals on the move. They ask uncomfortable questions. They probe. They always probe against the establishment. As what the Fees Must Fall generation had done. As Frantz Fanon once said, each and every generation has a mission to fulfill. That mission is either fulfilled or betrayed on conditions of obscurity. I'm going back now. That's one, before I sit down, probe as the rebels, a rebel with a cause. The last, a quotation that I want to share was actually on the 2nd of February 1835. In addressing British Parliament, Lord Magley said, I quote, that was in 1835, I have traveled across the length and breadth of Africa and have not seen one person. I've not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. Such wealth I've seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber, that I do not think we should ever conquer, or we would ever conquer this country, unless we break the very backbone of cultural heritage. And therefore, I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture. For if the Africans think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them to be, a truly dominated nation. Close quote. Now, this must be where we start and develop our discussion. This statement was made on the 2nd of February, 1835. What followed then was the destruction of our value systems, our education, cultural heritage, and so on. Our indigenous laws were relegated and only applied insofar as they were not viewed as in conflict with European law. I'm a product of Roman Dutch law myself. When Professor Mkrege taught us what was called African law, there was a part, what I'll never forget, that said, African traditions will only be accepted if they're not contrary to good morals. Contra bonos mores principle. I can see students here. Introduction to law. I'm closing actually by probing this, because this quotation actually by this person, it followed, and many, even Cecil John Rose once said, if a native wake up tomorrow and think that is English, must have won lotto. That's a quotation. Now, traditional institutions were undermined, infiltrated, and made accountable to the European authorities. Now, the Black Administrative or Administration Act of 1927, you cannot not talk about that, was a climax in the destruction of traditional leadership. Those chiefs who resisted the European rule were charged, arrested, and even punished. Puppet chiefs were appointed, and a new categories of traditional leadership, namely headmen, were introduced. This led to disunity in communities, families, and households. It was during these times that our value systems, which include tradition, culture, and other practices, were eroded. Languages were seen to be inferior, were also destroyed. As I'm closing, actually, I'm going back to Biko, who said, who did this? All the years, it was not only whites. Whites introduced it. But the most powerful mind, the most powerful weapon in the hands of that oppressor is a black person. Because why is our traditional wisdoms being actually defended by the majority, which is black people against other black people? It's what Biko mentioned. I'm interested in what Nadel, for example, I'm talking to Nadel, these young lawyers, they are challenging customary marriages, its application. That's Roman Dutch law. Indoda isweleka noba ibingasathethi nomfazi unyeminyaka elishumi, ngenxa yesertificate esisifubeni nguye odicide indoda mayingcwatywe phi. And I'm looking at that case esemthatha ugqitywa udicide the case kwathiwa no, and people like they submitted and said that the customary law doesn't allow that umendi ebefika izolo makadecide ingcwatywa kule ndoda. Another funeral here, it was so painful that even abantwana bakowabo lobhuti bengcwatywa were not even mentioned in a funeral, because it is the wife who must actually decide. Which law is that? There's a Roman Dutch law. There are many examples about this, which makes us that we must actually probe. When it's also interesting in case Mama Nomzamo, Winnie Mandela. Again, which is another test of this tension between traditional, our customary law and our practices and the Western culture. So all of these actually call upon a need for, in much of the Constitution is so mentioned that the progressive and so forth, but there are questions. As I'm sitting down, kuyabonakala ke into kubana ezi zinto ezi, these zinto that we must actually probe and probe quite in a manner that will ensure that we decolonize African heritage. And that decolonization of African heritage, even in many things that we were saying, it is clear that using these authors, these organic intellectuals that are spoken about, that there's another struggle that we must actually wage, and that struggle is a very, very difficult struggle. It's actually very complex, this one. Their struggle actually is not a physical struggle, it's a recolonization of the mind. Thank you.
Statement that says SCT